This video is meant to be a word of warning, a word of encouragement, and a word of wisdom to all new fish keepers. As you can see, this 75-gallon Iwagumi tank is very yellow and overrun with algae. There's algae hanging everywhere. I have about $75 worth of dwarf hairgrass that is growing everywhere that I specifically planted in strategical places. It's covered in algae, and this can be very discouraging. This tank is maybe a month old and just completely consumed with algae. But one thing that I know from that tank and other tanks is that this too shall pass. I'm trying to get the roots established for this dwarf hairgrass. But here's the message that I have for you. The aquarium game is a time game. It's not something that just happens overnight. Now, I've got a tank right here, and you can pretty much make it look like this in a day. But let me see if I can point it over there. See here, we've got just a tank with rocks and a piece of driftwood and fish in it. And of course, the filter. Now, you could set something like this up in a day. I've got sand and a little bit of gravel in there, and they like to swish it around. But you could set something like this up. But this is nice, but it's not going to be near as impressive as this whenever all of the algae is gone. The aquarium game is a time game. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Sometimes you have to wait on it. Now, once these roots are established a little bit better, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all the dwarf hairgrass. It's going to come to the top, and I'm going to cut the lights off for a few days and sort of let the algae die out. I don't know what you may be going through with your tank, but sometimes it's a trial and error thing. And one thing that you got to remember is it's not the end of it all. Now, this is very discouraging considering the amount of time and money that I put into this thing. And to be honest with you, the dwarf hairgrass isn't growing quite as fast as I thought it would, or I think that it should. But it's still growing. And in another month, it's going to look completely different than this. So I want to encourage you, whatever you may be going through, whatever doubts that you may be having, don't worry about it. It's a time game, and you need to try to enjoy it as it is. So and I'm looking at probably, at the rate we're going right now, maybe 6 months before this thing is completely covered in grass, and I can really enjoy it because it's the way that I want it to. But I've only got 7 green neon tetras in here. Why? Because I can't afford to go buy 100 of them at one time. Every 2 weeks I've got to buy a few. It's a time game, and I'm just going to enjoy the journey. But if you can get your tanks going, just like this tank over here, this tank over there is a little bit older, and it looks wonderful. And believe it or not, I know there's a glare on this tank, but believe it or not, this tank right here, it looked a lot like this tank right here only a few weeks ago. So understand that it's just a time game. But now this tank, all of the plants have come in, and I don't know how many fish I have in there. I may have 40, close to 50 nano fish. They're all smaller fish. But every fish that I put in this tank, as I can tell, every one of them have lived. I haven't ever had a fish that I put in this tank die. I feed them 3 times a week. They're happy. They're healthy. things are growing in there, and I've even seen babies in there. The babies may not last, but there are babies in there. So it's just taken time to get it to this place. It's taken time for me to get it right here so I can sit back in this chair and stare at this tank and these fish and what's going on in it. It did not happen overnight. So I want to encourage you, don't give up. Just enjoy the journey. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, and it's a journey every single day. And if you want something different, and you don't want to have to worry about that, then there's another option. You know, you've seen my cichlid tank right here with all of them in it. You can do something like that. These convict cichlids down there, they only cost about $6 a piece. And then I've got this tank. You could do something like this if you want something that's set up really quick. And what I've got here is, sorry for the glare, but what I've got here is I soaked a bunch of leaves out my yard. I got sticks out my yard. And this is a design from the Arkansas River, and I put that together. And I have the notorious tiger barbs in here. And as you can see right here on the edge, that it's sand that I got out of my yard and sand that I bought. And this is a very healthy tank. I have 14 tiger barbs in there, and as far as I know, I put them in there and none of them have died. What you see up there is a rosy red minnow. So if you want something that's just something that you can throw together and have it in no time, this is what would be considered a black water tank because of the tint of the water, the leaves and the sticks. If you want something like that, then you could set something like this up. But this still took time because I had to soak the leaves for about a week in water and the sticks. And it took a lot of time to make that. So it's a time game any way that you look at it. If you want your tank to be cycled, then you can do like me, and that's why the rosy red minnows are in there. I put 10 rosy red minnows in there, and they lived in there for a couple of weeks before I put any other fish in there, and they're still in there because I can't catch them. And even though tiger barbs are notorious for tormenting other fish, they don't really bother the rosy red minnows. So I bought maybe 7 or 6 of the tiger barbs one week. A couple of weeks later, bought 7 more, and I'm going to try to get maybe 50 in there. And I'm just having fun. I'm just enjoying the journey. It's great. I've got everything that I could ever want. I've got this black water tank. I've got my cichlid tank, and I'm going to have this IWAGUMI tank where I want it here in just a few months. And then I got my tank on the end that's planted, got driftwood and all kinds of fish. So I want to encourage you to keep going because it's a journey and it's a time game. So just remember, every time something happens, this is a time game, and I'm going to work through it. Hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope you have a great day. God bless.